There were once 7 moons in the sky, until something began to devour them. Once upon a time, there were 7 moons in the sky. Each moon was fated to a daughter of Bathala, king of the gods, and each took her turn illuminating the earth 1 night a week. Together the 7 moon goddesses governed the tides and the flow of magic. They kept the balance between night-bound immortals and powerless humans. They were beloved, they were radiant, and they were beautiful. So much so that they drew prayers from mortals and envy from gods. Despite their gifts, the 7 sister goddesses were more vulnerable than other celestial beings. Where the sun god wore molten fire-like armor, and the star goddess could blink across realms at the first hint of danger, the moons remained slow, luminous, and exposed. When Mayari, eldest and strongest of the 7, lost an eye in battle with a jealous god, the vulnerability of the moons could no longer be ignored. If even she could be wounded, her sister stood little chance against those who envied their beauty. So Bathala called upon the Bakunawa. They were the strongest immortal clan with the purest magic on earth. In their true forms, they were magnificent dragons, with wings stretching wide enough to eclipse the stars. Bathala anointed them as guardians of the moons. They ascended to the heavens and coiled around the moons like living constellations. They chased away jealous spirits and devouring shadows. They stood between the moon goddesses and all who sought to claim or diminish them. For 1,000 years, they were fiercely loyal and fulfilled their duty, bound not by fear of the gods, but by honor and kinship. Until one night, the sky burned. 1 moon vanished from the heavens. 5 of the 7 moons were dead. There was no warning, no prophecy sung, no omen written in the stars. Heaven and earth just trembled as charred moons fell from the heavens and plunged into the sea, one after another, in blazing arcs of fire. The impact sent waves crashing against distant shores, flooding villages and splitting coastlines. Islands formed, smoke and ash darkened the skies. Below, people emerged from their homes, coughing from the acrid smell of fire and brimstone, and watched the heavens in terror. At the heart of chaos was Laho, king of the Bakunawa. The golden-scaled dragon had gone mad with grief, and for the first time in his existence, Laho was spewing purple fire. Purple fire, known only to dragon kings, could burn anything in the cosmos, even kill goddesses. Laho's molten gaze lifted to the last moon, Mayari, brightest of the 7, her silver light wavering as smoke drifted past her. Bakos, second eldest of the clan, reached him first, his blue wings beating furiously as he placed himself between Laho and Mayari.
Laho! Enough, brother. This madness must end.
You are right. Tonight it ends. All the moons will pay for their treachery.
There is no betrayal here. Whatever you believe, this is not the truth.
Truth? Huh. Do you not see that she is lost, brother?
The other Bakunawa arrived then, hearts pounding with dread as they took in the ruined heavens.
They cast her down. My mate, my light, condemned her to wander beyond our universe, torn from her place without trial, without mercy.
Laho, the goddesses would not...
I begged them for answers. They were silent, every one of them, even when I pleaded, when I knelt.
The word knelt tasted like blood.
They watched as she was stripped of the sky she loved. And you would have me believe the moons knew nothing? That they stood innocent while my beloved was cast from the heavens like a forgotten prayer? They knew and did nothing. They don't deserve to grace the skies.
Sarmiento, the steadfast guardian with scales of deep indigo, moved to Baco's side, his expression grave.
Brother, if the last moon falls, darker things will claim the night. Immortals that prey on humans will roam freely. Oceans will rise and swallow the earth. You know this.
They took my mate away from me.
Kidlat, the black-scaled seer, shifted closer.
Brother, I have looked into what was and what may yet be. There are uncertainties surrounding your lost mate's fate. The heart scale you gave her, it's the key to unraveling the truth you seek. Some things are not what it seems.
For the briefest moment, doubt flickered in Laho's eyes. Then a voice, soft, familiar, beloved, curled through his mind.
They conspired against us. They envied us and feared what our bond could become. Avenge me.
Laho's doubt shattered.
Make a choice. Stand with your king or get out of my way.
Baco's heart broke. He could see in Laho's unhinged, hungry eyes that he was lost to them.
You leave us no choice, brother. We must protect Mayari, even if it means fighting you.
Move.
Protect the last moon.
The Bakunawa moved as one, forming a living arc around Mayari, their magic intertwining, their wings overlapping in defiance. Lidagat, their youngest, turned pleading eyes to Laho. Turquoise tears, like her scales, glimmered like starlight as they fell to the ocean.
Do not make us your enemies. We are family. We are guardians of the moons, not monsters. Don't you hear them?
Moon Eater, Goddess Killer. The night echoed with the cries of the different tribes below. They banged pots and gongs in a desperate attempt to distract or even scare the Bakunawa away from eating the last moon. Others played trembling melodies, pleading for mercy, praying the moon-eating dragon would succumb to sleep until Bathala came to set things right. Laho answered with fire, red in warning. Bacchus countered with blue flames. The two forces clashed with a thunderous explosion that lit up the sky. Stars flickered, uncertain whether to remain. The other Bakunawa joined the fray. Sarmiento attacked with a series of powerful strikes, his tail lashing out like a whip. Silver twins, Habagat and Amihan, swift as the winds, summoned beams of moonlight to bind Laho's movements, while Kidlat channeled bolts of lightning to sap Laho's strength. But Laho's fury seemed unstoppable, his power fueled by grief too vast to contain. He broke free of the moonlight bindings and roared.
Traitors, all of you, you will die with the moons.
Give this up, brother. This is not the way.
Mayari couldn't bear to watch the dragons fall out any longer. She descended, her light dimmed by tears.
Mayari, stay back. Lo, we loved her too. You guarded us for 1,000 years. How could you believe we would wish her gone?
For a heartbeat, Laho hesitated. Then the whisper returned.
She lies. Only you loved me. End her, or they will do to you what they did to me.
With a roar that split the sky, Laho lunged toward the last moon. Eyes blazing, talons raised, golden scales reflecting red, then blue, as a torrent of purple fire streamed from his mouth.
The Dagat, now!
The Dagat summoned the ocean. A roaring vortex surged upward, wrapping around Laho with crushing force. The Bakunawa formed a circle and channeled their combined power to the vortex, not to strike Laho down, but to contain the fire he had become. Laho may be the strongest among them, but it was an ancient truth of their kind. No king, no matter how powerful, could stand against the will of the clan.
Forgive us, brother.
They could feel it, the inevitability. When the last purple flames were spent, Laho was gone. The Bakunawa king was dead. Laho's once majestic form burned away by the very power he had unleashed. Reduced to ash and embers, drifting into the dark sea. The Bakunawa hovered in stunned silence. Their victory hollow, their spirits broken, their duty done at the greatest cost. In the darkest hour, before dawn, Bathala descended. His gaze swept across the devastation, the fallen moons, the weeping Mayari, and the shattered dragons.
You were entrusted with my daughters, and yet you let the night fall into ruin. The night bears wounds that will not close. The sky can no longer hold those who failed to keep its balance.
Power thundered through the air, the stars shuddered, the sea below answered with a low, distant roar.
Those who cannot remain in the heavens must return to the depths.
The Bakunawa kept their heads bowed. They did not argue they were not part of Laho's plan, nor did they lament that they saved the last moon at the cost of a brother and king. Grief had stolen their defense.
You will be bound to the depths of the ocean, bearing a new form that reflects the darkness here tonight.
Their dragon forms twisted, their brilliant scales dulled, and their wings shrank as they transformed into serpentine sea creatures, shadows of their former selves. But Hala's voice came once more, lower now, final.
For saving Mayari, you will retain your immortality and magic. Each full moon you may rise and revisit the skies. But for each ascent, you will relive the night you failed, when the sky broke under your watch and the moons died. What was broken will not be forgotten.
The Bakunawa fell one by one into the ocean's embrace. The stars retreated beyond their reach. Without the guardians, Mayari also retreated higher to the heavens and hid among the stars. She wept long after her father and the dragons left. While she mourned the loss of her sisters, she also couldn't abide the fall of the Bakunawa. They were heroes in her eyes. They saved her. They were valiant beings with loyal hearts. Even the misguided Laho, she understood his rage and knew that the love he had for the lost moon was true. But Mayari knew her father. Once spoken, her father's word would not bend. So it's up to her now to help the Bakunawa. She considered Laho's tragic fate and thought, if love could make a monster out of the purest beings, then perhaps it's also powerful enough to undo a cursed fate. So Mayari dreamed and plotted, and the lone moon glowed once more.